Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Cathie Wood just filed to launch an awesome-sounding venture fund, which could be the biggest piece of ARK Invest news since they launched ARKK, their flagship innovation fund. Cathie Wood has hinted at financial products like this several times in interviews over the past couple years, saying that she wants to offer retail investors a public-private option and that they were internally testing an ARK on steroids fund that could include leverage.
Why not extend your investment thesis to private markets and raise money to invest in venture capital and in growth equity, because so many of the things that you're interested in get their start there?
So yes, we are evolving some strategies. We hope that next year we'll be able to launch something. What I would love, and it would be true to our stripes, our current stripes, I would love, because I know the SEC is opening up to this, I would love to be able to offer a public-private option that would be available for all retail investors.
What I didn't expect was for all of these things to possibly come together in one fund. Oh yeah, and it could also include crypto. I've linked the SEC filing in the description below so you can see everything for yourself. Your time is valuable, so let's get right into it by going over some of the highlights. The strategy behind the fund is roughly the same as ARKK's, focusing on investments in genomics, automation, energy transformation, artificial intelligence, next-generation internet companies, and fintech innovations, which are all currently ARK Invest's core themes. What's interesting about this inclusion of fintech is that this fund can include cryptocurrencies, not just stocks of publicly traded companies. In fact, this newly filed ARK Venture Fund will include early to late stage private companies as well as micro, small, medium, and large cap public companies. Basically, this opens the entire spectrum of companies from seed and Series A funding rounds all the way to the Teslas and possibly the SpaceXs of the world. It also means that this fund could have a much longer time horizon than their actively managed ETFs. This will not be a fund for traders. It's a fund for investors who want exposure to the cutting-edge companies and technologies that ARK Invest is great at identifying, sometimes even before they go public. I'm thinking that this will be at least a 10-year time horizon. One interesting thing is that the filing allows ARK to go into defense mode with this fund. The fund can pursue a temporary defensive strategy inconsistent with its principal investment strategies, which means it might not achieve its investment objectives 100% of the time. Basically, this means that the fund is trying to grant exposure to the themes that I just called out, but Cathie Wood would be willing to hold positions outside of those themes when innovation may not be the best strategy. The point is that we could see ARK Invest actively play a much more defensive role inside this fund instead of letting it get cut in half in order to stay thematically consistent, like we've seen them do with ARKK and the other actively traded funds. It's important to call out that this is not going to be an ETF. When you buy shares of an ETF, the underlying fund will buy the companies that share represents on that day. So you're getting shares of its holdings at current market prices. With a venture fund like this one, you get a share of the investments that ARK Invest made at the price that ARK Invest made them, and they get your money to invest in new investments going forward. I honestly think that this is a much better fit for the type of research, opportunity discovery, and long time horizon that ARK Invest is focused on. That also means that access to the fund can be pretty limited. It won't be a ticker that you can just buy on your trading platform. The current plan for distribution is through an unnamed platform owned and operated by an unnamed entity with an unnamed website. What this probably means in practice is that an investor can go directly to an ARK Invest website or a partner site, fill out the correct paperwork, and sign up to get put on a shareholder waiting list. The minimum initial investment for shares of the fund is just $1,000, so pretty much one share of Tesla stock. Outside of that, there's no minimum on additional purchases after that initial $1,000. Unlike ARK Invest's ETFs, this fund can be closed. That means Jim Cramer could one day actually get his wish of seeing Cathie Wood close a fund without sounding like a total fool.
Memo to Cathie Wood, close your fund. Close it. Listen to what the late Jack Bogle would say. Close it.
The fund may close at any time to new investments, and during such closings, only the reinvestment of dividends by existing shareholders will be permitted. The fund may reopen to new investments and subsequently close again to new investments at any time at the discretion of the advisor. So basically, ARK Invest can control the rough size and flows of the funds and the investments any way they see fit. The fund can also use leverage for up to 1/3 of the fund's total assets. It's not clear to me whether that's just low interest loans or if that's also going to include options, which Cathie Wood has mentioned in the past.
Do you have any plans or thoughts about adding short positions to one or more versions of your funds?
Well, we have internally for employees only. We're testing out a portfolio, but it's really ARK on steroids, if you can believe that. What we would be doing is shorting stocks that are in the big benchmarks. And when we get into a risk-off situation, what happens is portfolio managers and analysts generally run back to those stocks, get closer to their benchmarks, and they dump our stocks, which are either small parts of benchmarks or not in benchmarks. Great opportunity for us, as we have experienced during these last few days, to pick up on those stocks because it's simply a risk-off move to get closer to benchmarks. And by the way, we think the benchmarks are where the big risks are longer term because they are filling up with value traps.
So this fund has a lot of flexibilities in the ways that ARK Invest can generate returns for investors or expose them to certain themes. My guess is that this language is just in the SEC filing so that if ARK Invest finds what they think is an absolute slam dunk, they can get the liquidity and the exposure they want independent of fund flows in or out. Speaking of which, this fund could be pretty illiquid. It's not currently intended that the shares will be listed on a public exchange, and no secondary market is expected to be developed for these shares. This fund is an interval fund, which is a type of fund that provides limited liquidity to shareholders by making quarterly offers to repurchase anywhere from 5 to 25% of the shares outstanding at net asset value prices. So once you're in, you're in. That means the opportunity cost for holding this fund could be pretty high, which again means that this is a strategic allocation for committed long-term investors, not something day traders should YOLO their entire account into. The trade-off is that you're getting into potential winners much earlier, which means at much better valuations. Another important tidbit that could pop out of this is that shares of this fund could trade at a discount or a premium to the net value of the assets inside it. For example, say the fund granted you exposure to SpaceX. Many investors would pay a premium to hold SpaceX, and if the fund contains a few companies like that, then the fund's share price could be much more expensive than its contents when you buy. But you wouldn't get that same premium if you want ARK to buy those shares from you. By default, fund holders will be registered in a dividend reinvestment plan that will buy additional shares of the fund, but investors can give written notice to take that dividend instead. That means if you're in this fund for a long period of time, your shares are hopefully going up in value and you're actually getting more and more shares as your dividends get reinvested. That's actually pretty attractive over the long term. Then, when you have an income need or you plan to retire, you let ARK Invest know that you want your dividend instead of having it reinvested. Then, if you need money beyond that, you sell chunks of your shares back during those buyback windows. So, comment below or tweet me at tickersymbol with your thoughts on the filing for this ARK Invest Venture Fund. Is this fund structure something that interests you? What kind of companies do you think could be included? Maybe it's some of the companies that will also use the ARK Innovation Center, which is that 45,000 square foot business incubator that they're building near downtown St. Pete in Florida. By the way, the groundbreaking for their innovation center is happening soon, and when it does, I'll start providing regular progress updates on Twitter and Instagram, so feel free to find me at tickersymbol if you're interested in progress pics on that. As for me, I'll definitely try to get at least a few shares of this fund if and when I can, so that I can keep you up to date on the crazy cool early stage disruptive innovations that ARK Invest believes are changing our daily lives, and sometimes our portfolios for the better. That's just another way that this channel can invest in you. So, stay long, stay strong, and thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Ticker Symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.